The Bengals come up short against the Ravens 34-20 on Thursday Night Football. And it's important to mention the win-loss outcome of tonight's game, but none of that really matters in light of the Joe Burrow injury, as that is the number one story right now around Cincinnati, as there is plenty of justifiable concern over the apparent wrist injury in some capacity that Burrow suffered in this football game. Burrow left the game with what has been called a wrist injury. Head coach Zac Taylor saying maybe it's a sprain, but a lot of concern right now around the Bengals organization and Bengals fandom and general football fans as well with the injury. Now, Zac Taylor in his post-game press conference, I will make note, Burrow did not speak afterwards, says it looks like he sprained his wrist. And I don't think there's a lot of information beyond that. Zac Taylor saying he's not really sure. Now, there have been plenty of videos out there circulating over the lip reading of Joe Burrow talking to Lamar Jackson and Patrick Queen afterward. He dabbed up Lamar with his left hand, which seems, noteworthy from that perspective. He then spoke with Patrick Queen, and two different readings. The first sentence and first part of the second sentence pretty clear, saying, I felt a pop. That's concerning. At least that's what the lip reading looked like to me, and we'll see. The second part, a little bit more uncertain. It almost looks like I think I'll be all right, but I actually think he said, got to get an MRI. It's the whole, is the dress blue and white or gold and whatever it was. He's going to get an MRI, so we know that one is the case there. The concern is that the wrist sprain would be, I forget what the proper terminology, FRC or FRCC, something like that, a tear right in this area, which this looks, it was right here. That left pinky, or the right pinky, and that hand right here just looked incredibly swollen. So that is massively troubling news for the Bengals, whose season is already on the brink and now face the risk of not having Joe Burrow for at least a couple of games, potentially. We'll know more in the coming days. What is your panic level right now over the Joe Burrow injury? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. It is today's pinned comment. If the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Again, I'm at a 10. If Joe Burrow misses 2 games at 5-5, you can't go 6-6 and have a real shot of making the playoffs, barring just some unbelievable run. You got to start winning. Next week is a must-win football game, and you might not have your franchise guy. And that is just unbelievably terrifying right now for Cincinnati. Zac Taylor says, quote, looks like he sprained his wrist. I hope that ends up being the case, that it's just a sprain and nothing more severe. There was the video of him. He was wearing the wrap on his hand already. I don't know what led to that, what was going on there, if it was just a compression sleeve to help keep, swelling down potentially, but it's not a good sign on an injury-plagued night, mind you, by the way. I'll also make note that seems like Mark Andrews' season is over. He's going to need a potential season-ending injury there for head coach John Harbaugh. So bad news there for the Ravens too. But Joe Burrow, we don't know the details. MRI will come, I would assume, at some point tomorrow when the Bengals land back in Cincinnati. They'll get the details there. Burrow looked dejected on the sidelines. This is troubling. It's very troubling right now for Cincinnati to not have Joe Burrow out there potentially. It's all potential. We don't know beyond, hopefully it's just a sprained wrist and it's not some type of 6-week tear, because if that's the case, you're cooked. You ain't going to win anything. More on the Joe Burrow injury fallout and the replacement option, but today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. I really appreciate the Prize Picks reboot policy. Basically, if a player goes down in the first half and does not return, like Joe Burrow did, that player is rebooted and your pick entries stay in play. So I lost Joe Burrow. My picks were in play, which didn't end up mattering because Tyler Boyd had 2 drops in this one. And Jamar Chase didn't get close to 80.5 receiving yards. Lamar rushing yards at least were viable. I mean, he got 54, so that one, 1 for 3 then with Joe Burrow crossing out. But that's okay. On my normal non-single game picks, I've hit 5 in a row. Those are still in play because I had no selections in the Bengals-Ravens game. You guys get a first deposit match up to $100 by going to prizepicks.com/CLNS and using code CLNS for that first deposit match. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Again, that's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for that first deposit match up to $100. Again, Joe Burrow left the game with that wrist injury, and it is very concerning for Cincinnati because as the way this season is going to shape up, guys, it might not be very good. This Bengals team is built around Joe Burrow. It's built around Burrow making everything work. The ground game looked a lot better when Burrow was out there. Then it struggled because they could stack the box a little bit more. Jamar Chase did nothing tonight. 2 catches, 12 yards, and a touchdown to salvage his fantasy performance for the rest of the NFL fantasy owners. Tyler Boyd, 3 for 22. Boyd and Chase were targeted 13 times in this football game. They caught 5 passes for 34 yards. And a big factor was Burrow wasn't out there. Jake Browning had some chemistry with Trenton Irwin. Okay, that's your number 4 receiver. Tanner Hudson was a practice squad tight end, a month ago. He was your leading receiver. Joe Mixon had the most catches. That's not good, guys. It was already going to be a rough slate of games down the stretch here. A tough path to make the playoffs at 5-5, or even 6-4 if you had won. Maybe you do win with Burrow. I mean, that was a football game, guys. That was a football game. Burrow goes down. You are up 10-7. You are winning that football game when Burrow goes down. Then he leaves. And after that injury, the Ravens ran roughshod over you. It was a 27-10 swing after that. You probably win. You might have won this game with Joe Burrow because I think your defense got demoralized. Burrow goes down, and it's not good, and it's like, okay, we're in trouble. The next Ravens drives, and the defense gets blamed for the day too. That's a future video. Touchdown, field goal, punt, touchdown, end of game. Demoralizing across the board. I hope Joe Burrow is okay, because if he can't go next week in what is a must-win football game, you drop to 5-6, you're in trouble. You need to win out at that point. We will have, I'm sure, more for you on the Joe Burrow injury, so make sure you are subscribed. YouTube.com/Bengals TV. More free Bengals videos when you sub. Now, with Joe Burrow out, it's going to be on the right shoulder of Jake Browning, and that inspires confidence in no man. 8 of 14, and he got going late, and he was under 50% for a majority of this football game. 68 yards scored, did contribute 40 yards on the ground. Also took 3 sacks. The arm strength is not there. It is what it is. You're going to have to scheme around him, make life easy on him. The ground game at least was good, 69 yards. At least that's nice for Joe Mixon, but the confidence is shattered with you don't have Joe Burrow. And this is a fair question. Even though we don't know the details as of this stage, is the Bengals season over with Joe Burrow now injured? Y for yes, N for no. Sound off in the comments section. Here's your trouble point. You are now 3 games back of the Baltimore Ravens. You are 0-3 in the division. You are, I believe, 0-5 in the conference. You are 0-5 in the conference too. So you're going to lose every single tiebreaker right now. And on top of that, you do not face a team the rest of the season 4. Now, that'll change as teams lose. Your schedule remaining, at least as of right now, it could change if the Colts lose this weekend. Or they're on bye, so that's not going to change. You don't face a team with a below 500 record. It is 500 and above the remainder of the season. The division leaders right now, it's the Chiefs with the 1 seed, Ravens 2, Jags, Dolphins. You are a half game back for now against the Houston Texans. It really is. All right? And they have the tiebreaker. You have the tiebreaker over the Bills. If you don't have Joe Burrow, it is nearly impossible to find a way to figure out how you make the playoffs. To add another injury to this one, Taylor-Britt left the game with a quad injury. No further details known on that front. He left on one of the touchdowns in the first half, did not return. That's another bad blow with Awuzie. DJ Turner got banged up. I think he came back in the game, though. It's a mess in Cincinnati. It's not looking good. Joe Burrow's injury status will determine this team's chances of making a miracle playoff run. But if he misses even a game or two, it simply might be too much for the Bengals to overcome. Sprained wrist is the term from Zac Taylor. MRI, I would assume, coming tomorrow. We will know more then.